Imagine a world beneath the world. It's hidden, but it influences everything. This is the world often called the deep state. It's not a place on a map. It's a term used to describe a powerful, unseen network. This network operates within governments. It pulls strings from the shadows. Some people believe it's necessary. They argue it provides stability. Others claim it's dangerous. They say it undermines democracy. The deep state is a controversial topic. It's shrouded in secrecy and speculation. Some dismiss it as a conspiracy theory. Others argue it's a very real phenomenon. Whether it exists or not, the idea of a deep state is powerful. It speaks to our anxieties about power. Who really controls our world? Are our leaders truly in control? Or are there forces working behind the scenes? The term deep state evokes images of smoke-filled rooms. We picture shadowy figures making secret deals. While the reality is likely less dramatic, the concept is rooted in real concerns. Governments are complex entities. They involve vast bureaucracies and intricate power dynamics. Within these structures, individuals and groups can wield significant influence. They may not always be accountable to elected officials. This is where the idea of the deep state comes into play. It suggests a hidden layer of power. This power operates independently of democratic processes. It can influence policy and decision-making. Understanding the concept of the deep state requires examining its historical origins. We need to delve into the reasons behind its purported existence. Only then can we begin to grapple with its implications. The idea of a deep state may seem modern, but the concept is deeply rooted in history. Since ancient times, rulers have relied on advisors and officials. These individuals often wielded power behind the throne. They shaped policies and influenced decisions. These power dynamics were present in ancient China, Rome, and other empires. In the Ottoman Empire, a powerful group known as the shadow government existed. This group was made up of religious scholars and military leaders. It held significant sway over the Sultan. Similarly, in Tsarist Russia, a network of secret police and bureaucrats operated. They maintained order and suppressed dissent. These historical examples demonstrate that the concentration of power within governments is not a new phenomenon. The 20th century saw a dramatic expansion of government bureaucracies. The Industrial Revolution and the World Wars led to increased state intervention in society. Governments grew larger and more complex. This created more opportunities for unelected officials to accumulate power. As governments expanded, so did their intelligence agencies. The two world wars highlighted the importance of intelligence gathering and covert operations. This led to the creation of powerful intelligence services like the CIA in the United States and MI6 in the United Kingdom. These agencies often operated with significant autonomy. They had access to vast resources and information. This fueled concerns about their potential influence on government policy. The Cold War era further intensified suspicions about the existence of a deep state. The rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union created a climate of paranoia and secrecy. Both superpowers engaged in covert operations, propaganda, and espionage. During this time, the term deep state became associated with the idea of a hidden network. This network was believed to be manipulating foreign and domestic policy. Some argued that this network was driven by ideological goals. Others believed it was primarily concerned with maintaining its own power. The Cold War provided fertile ground for conspiracy theories. It fueled suspicions about the true motivations of those in power. The deep state is not a monolithic entity with a clear organizational chart. It's a complex web of individuals and institutions. These actors share common interests and goals. They work together to influence government policy and maintain their grip on power. Imagine a spider web, its delicate threads intertwining and connecting various points. At the heart of this web are intelligence agencies. They possess vast information-gathering capabilities. They also have the ability to operate covertly and influence events behind the scenes. However, the deep state extends beyond these agencies. It encompasses powerful actors within the military, the bureaucracy, and the private sector. These actors may not always agree, but they share a common interest in maintaining their influence and advancing their agendas. Intelligence agencies play a pivotal role in the deep state. They serve as the eyes and ears of the network, gathering information, conducting covert operations, and shaping the flow of information. These agencies, often shrouded in secrecy, operate both domestically and internationally, wielding significant power and influence. Think of them as the information brokers of the deep state. In the United States, the intelligence community comprises multiple agencies. The CIA, NSA, and FBI are among the most well-known. These agencies collect and analyze intelligence. They also conduct covert operations. Their activities are often classified. This makes it difficult to scrutinize their actions. Proponents argue that these agencies are essential for national security. Critics worry about their potential for overreach and abuse of power. Section 3. The military-industrial complex, a powerful alliance. Another key component of the deep state is the military-industrial complex. This term, coined by President Dwight Eisenhower, refers to the close relationship between the military establishment and the defense industry. This alliance wields significant economic and political power. It influences government policy on defense spending, military interventions, and arms sales. Critics argue that the military-industrial complex thrives on a perpetual state of fear and conflict. They claim it pushes for aggressive foreign policies to justify its existence and maintain its profits. They point to the revolving door between government and defense contractors. Former military officials often find lucrative jobs in the industry. This raises concerns about conflicts of interest and undue influence on decision-making. Proponents argue that a strong military is essential for national security. They believe that the private sector plays a vital role in providing the necessary equipment and technology. Section 4. Financial networks, the money trail. The deep state's influence extends beyond the realms of intelligence and military power. Financial networks and institutions also play a crucial role. Money, after all, is the lifeblood of power. It funds political campaigns, lobbies for favorable policies, and shapes public opinion through media ownership. These financial networks, often operating discreetly, can exert significant influence over governments and economies. Large corporations and financial institutions wield immense economic power. They can influence government policies through lobbying, campaign contributions, and even threats of economic instability. Powerful individuals and families can also exert influence through their wealth. They may use their fortunes to fund think tanks, media outlets, and political campaigns. This enables them to shape public discourse and promote their agendas. Critics argue that this concentration of wealth and financial influence undermines democracy. They believe it gives an unfair advantage to the wealthy and powerful. Section 1. The invisible hand at work. The deep state's activities are often subtle and difficult to trace. It operates in the shadows, exerting influence through a combination of information control, strategic leaks, and behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Imagine a puppeteer skillfully manipulating strings, guiding the movements of a marionette without ever being seen by the audience. One of the deep state's primary goals is to maintain its grip on power and advance its interests. It does this by influencing government policy, shaping public opinion, and neutralizing threats to its existence. Think of it as a self-preservation instinct. The deep state seeks to protect its position and ensure its continued influence. Its methods can range from subtle persuasion to more forceful interventions, depending on the perceived threat and the desired outcome. Controlling the narrative is crucial for the deep state. It understands that public opinion can make or break governments and policies. Therefore, it invests significant effort in shaping public perception through media manipulation, propaganda, and the dissemination of disinformation. Think of it as a game of smoke and mirrors, where reality is distorted to serve the deep state's agenda. The deep state can influence media coverage through a variety of means. It can plant stories, leak information selectively, and cultivate relationships with journalists and media executives. It can also use its financial resources to influence media ownership and editorial decisions. By shaping the information that reaches the public, the deep state can influence public opinion on a wide range of issues, from foreign policy to domestic politics. Propaganda plays a significant role in the deep state's toolkit. By disseminating carefully crafted messages and narratives, it seeks to manufacture consent for its actions and policies. Propaganda can be overt or subtle, appealing to emotions, prejudices, or deeply held beliefs. It's a form of psychological manipulation aimed at influencing thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors. During times of war or crisis, the deep state may use propaganda to rally public support for military interventions or other controversial policies. It can portray enemies as existential threats, exaggerating their strength and malign intentions. It can also downplay the human cost of war and gloss over the potential consequences of its actions. By controlling the narrative and manipulating emotions, the deep state can manufacture consent for policies that might otherwise face significant opposition. The deep state thrives on stability and predictability. It prefers to operate in the shadows, away from public scrutiny and democratic accountability. Therefore, it often seeks to maintain the status quo, resisting radical change or challenges to its power. Think of it as an invisible force working to preserve the existing power structures and prevent disruptions. The deep state may use its influence to undermine or discredit individuals or movements that threaten its interests. This can include whistleblowers who expose wrongdoing, activists who challenge established norms, or politicians who threaten to disrupt the existing power dynamics. The deep state's methods can range from character assassination and smear campaigns to more covert forms of sabotage and intimidation. Its goal is to neutralize threats and maintain its grip on power. The deep state is a concept that sparks heated debate. Skeptics argue that it's nothing more than a conspiracy theory. They point out the lack of concrete evidence to support its existence. They argue that attributing complex events to a shadowy cabal oversimplifies reality. Governments, they contend, are messy and often inefficient. To believe in a highly organized and all-powerful deep state, they argue, is naive. Critics of the deep state concept often argue that it's a convenient scapegoat for those who disagree with government policies. Instead of engaging in substantive debate about specific policies, they claim, proponents of the deep state theory resort to vague accusations of shadowy forces working behind the scenes. This, they argue, undermines democratic discourse and erodes trust in institutions. They also point out that the concept of the deep state can be used to justify authoritarianism and crackdowns on dissent. Section 2. Fueling the fire conspiracy theories and distrust. The deep state concept often goes hand in hand with conspiracy theories. This association further fuels skepticism and makes it difficult to have a nuanced discussion about the topic. Conspiracy theories thrive on fear, suspicion, and a lack of transparency. They often offer simplistic explanations for complex events, attributing them to sinister forces working in secret. While some conspiracy theories may contain elements of truth, they often lack credible evidence and rely on speculation, conjecture, and misinformation. The deep state, when framed as an all-powerful nefarious force controlling world events, falls into this category. This type of thinking can be dangerous. It can lead to distrust in legitimate institutions, undermine social cohesion, and even incite violence. Section 3. Navigating the shadows. The need for transparency. Even if one doesn't subscribe to the most extreme versions of the deep state theory, there's no denying that governments and powerful institutions often operate with a degree of secrecy. This lack of transparency can erode public trust and create fertile ground for suspicion and conspiracy theories. It's essential to strike a balance between national security concerns and the public's right to know. One way to address concerns about the deep state is to promote transparency and accountability within government. This includes strengthening oversight mechanisms, protecting whistleblowers, and promoting a culture of openness and honesty. When citizens have access to information and can hold their leaders accountable, it's less likely that shadowy forces will be able to operate with impunity. Section 4. Acknowledging influence and power dynamics. While the existence of a monolithic, all-powerful deep state is debatable, it's crucial to acknowledge that power dynamics and informal networks of influence exist within any complex system, including governments. Individuals and groups with shared interests will naturally seek to influence policy and decision-making. This is not necessarily inherently nefarious, but it's important to be aware of these dynamics and ensure that they don't undermine democratic processes. Transparency, accountability, and a robust civil society are essential for mitigating the potential negative effects of concentrated power and influence. When citizens are informed and engaged, they can hold their leaders accountable and ensure that decisions are made in the best interests of the public, not just a select few. Ultimately, the best defense against the shadowy machinations of any purported deep state is an informed and vigilant citizenry. Section 1. The Enduring Enigma. The deep state remains an enigma, a shadowy concept that sparks debate and fuels speculation. Whether we view it as a dangerous cabal or a natural consequence of complex power structures, its influence on our understanding of government and society is undeniable. The idea of unelected individuals and groups wielding significant power behind the scenes taps into our deepest anxieties about control, transparency, and the nature of power itself. While concrete evidence of a monolithic, all-controlling deep state remains elusive, dismissing the concept entirely would be naive. Power dynamics, informal networks, and vested interests are inherent in any complex system, and governments are no exception. The challenge lies in navigating this complex web of influence, promoting transparency and accountability, and ensuring that democratic processes remain resilient against undue influence from any source, hidden or visible. The deep state, whether a shadowy cabal or a manifestation of systemic power dynamics, serves as a potent reminder of the importance of vigilance, critical thinking, and an engaged citizenry in safeguarding the integrity of democratic institutions.